I definitely just spilled iced coffee all over my feet. You are here for the first episode of Coffee Chat. So Coffee Chat, this starts as a Patreon exclusive series, which then gets released onto my main channel, but you get the sneak peek where during these quick coffee chats, I am reviewing fiction-related books that have to do with food. These can be romantic comedies, contemporary fiction, or young adult. I do plan on expanding to other genres, especially manga. There's tons of graphic novels that involve food. I wanted to start doing this because I'm reading more and more in this fiction space, and part of it's for fun and part of it's for homework, so that I have recommendations for the Blind Date with a Book series that I sell on booksandbread.com. If you don't know about Blind Date with a Book, it's a $25 program where you will receive one mystery book, one snack that supports a small business in the United States, and there's a $3 donation to a nonprofit to help fight hunger. Now, there's 3 different genres to pick from. They'll probably sound familiar: contemporary romance, fiction, or young adult. That's just where I'm starting right now. I launched the program in September, but I love to have at least 4 or 5 different blind date options per genre. That way, if I have a repeat customer who comes back, I have other books for you to read. So, got that intro out of the way. It'll get shorter as we keep going, but since it's the first in the series, I wanted to explain my mission behind it. So The Dating Dare by Jayci is actually the second in a series. I think it's called the Sweet Mess series because her first book is called Sweet Mess. So it looks like these are all standalone books, but within the same universe, because the first book, the main characters are the supporting characters in this book. They're friends who are largely absent from this book. So do I think I was probably missing out on some of the subtleties and subtext of the book? Maybe, but the plot of this book largely is all about Tara and Seth. So our protagonist, Tara, she is the lead brewer at her family's brewery called Weldon Brewery. And then there's Seth Kim, who is her new best friend's brother-in-law, younger brother-in-law. And Seth is a professional photographer known to be a little bit of a playboy and a bad boy. They meet at their friends' weddings. So Tara's best friend is getting married, and she's the maid of honor, and Seth is the best man. And they are definitely enemies to lovers in this story. So first, enemies to lovers, and second, the main food connection here is going to be the brewery, and the second is that her friend, who is largely on her 1-month honeymoon, this entire book, owns a very famous popular bakery in town. So if you love pastries and beer, this is for you. It was enemies to lovers, but they became not enemies by the end of the first day they meet at the wedding. So Tara doesn't really like Seth at the beginning because he, at the wedding, looks like he's just sizing her up and just objectifying the hell out of her, and she does not want to have any of this shit. So she goes up and confronts him, but by the end of the night, they're like slow dancing together, and it just felt really easy. I think that is my number one critique of this book, is that if you ever wanted to write a romantic comedy, all of the beats are here, and it's so straightforward. And one of the biggest things is that we are let inside the minds of our 2 protagonists, Seth and Tara. There is so much expository dialogue. Like, I feel this way because my college boyfriend was manipulative and emotionally abusive, and he controlled my money, and then he told me I would never make it as a sommelier, so blah. So I went and got a graphic design degree because I didn't want to disappoint my Korean parents who came to America to give me a good life. And Seth's like, I wanted to be an artist, and my girlfriend in college showed up with her friends the night of my premiere, and they all showed up drunk, and she ripped me apart and told me I had no talent, so now I'm just a professional photographer because I'm good at it. So they go back to the bar, and they set up, this is where Seth's master plan is to set up the dating dare. He is moving to France, he's moving to Paris in a month, but he really wants to essentially hook up with Tara. He thinks that she's hot, but also really feisty. So he beats her at a drinking game, which is funny because Asians have this stereotype of not being able to drink, and Tara works at a brewery, which is kind of hilarious. And he basically tricks her into, hey, I get to ask you out on 4 dates before I leave, and that's it. No hookup, no long distance. It's 4 go and done. Whatever happens in between, if there's sexy time, great, but then we go our separate ways. And Tara's all on board for this, because as the expository dialogue tells you, she not gonna get held down by no man. So throughout the book, you're going on the 4 dates. There's a lot of miscommunications that go on. It just felt like maybe I do need to read the first book, because there's so many characters that are referenced. There's so many past pain points that are referenced, and emotional work that feels like might have already been done. So it was all very expository. So maybe it was kind of like the, hey, if you didn't read the first book, here's why Tara feels this way. And if you didn't read the first book, here's why Seth feels this way. In terms of being connected to food, I mean, bakery food, turn on, orgasmic, blah, blah, blah. I was really disappointed that the whole subplot of Tara wanting to take Weldon Brewery to some of these bigger, like, state competitions for their regional brews, and then to go on to nationals to win some national awards, really wasn't developed at all. It was talked about how she was working towards this competition. She wanted to stay focused. That's why the 4 dates with Seth were perfect. And then, of course, they fall in love. And she kept saying it was a distraction, but we never see the brewery go to these competitions. And she wants to go to these competitions to feel validated so that they can start selling in stores, kind of like regionally, and then scale up and maybe be the next Dogfish Brewery. None of that happens, and I was pissed. I don't drink beer, but I love reading about it. I think what people do, the brewmasters do and what the teams do to create these drinks, it's really fascinating, and none of it happens. Every time she's at the bar, she's like, oh, Oppa, her older brother, she has two older brothers, excuse me, please cover for me, and then she leaves. Who's making the beer if you're gone, brewmaster? Hello? Hello? Anyone? There was also touches of the brothers hinting about, like, the sacrifices they've made, or things that maybe they wanted to go see the world and didn't get the chance to do. There was like this subplot of like sibling tension and familial responsibility as being children of immigrants that was only just touched on and completely ignored. Which was really interesting because both Seth and Tara are Korean American, and we just don't really get more of that. And that was super frustrating because I think those added layers of complexity are what make books go from good to great. So The Dating Dare is good. It's a good, like, I read it in a day and a half. It's good mindless read, especially for someone who reads a lot of nonfiction. I usually have to break it up and then read something super fluffy and easy to understand. So did it get me through the nice break I needed? Yes, it definitely did. Will I continue the series? I will, because I really want to go back and read Sweet Mess to understand what I'm missing out on. But if you're looking for a beach read, I mean, we're going into winter, so if you're looking for a cozy read on the couch, there is, like, they do go skiing at one point. It's a fun read. It's just, like, would I put this in a Read It and Eat subscription box blind date program? Probably not. Sweet Mess has a chance. I have to go back and see what Volume 1 does. So this was the first episode of Coffee Chat. Let me know in the comments below. Do you like this series? Are you happy that I'm talking about something other than nonfiction all the time? If you are interested in getting more Patreon exclusives, I will have the link down below. There are a couple different tiers with a couple different freebies and goodies. The highest tier does get you automatically put into the Read It and Eat subscription box program. I'm actually updating the tiers right now so that for a lower tier, you will automatically be enrolled in one of the Blind Date with a Book programs. But I would love your support. It helps keep the channel going. It helps keep my small business going. If you haven't already, I would love for you to hit like and subscribe. Feel free to share content, like, let's all lift each other up. But anyway, I've got more coffee to finish. I need to go have some breakfast. I'll talk to you in the next coffee chat. Bye.